Welcome back to another episode. And this week, I got some good stuff this week. I was I was just to fill you in on a couple things that are going on. I I went to an event the other day. It was a vegan potluck, and I tell you what, I have never been so happy in my life. Like this food was so good. I can't even describe. Like it's almost like when you wake up on Christmas morning. Yeah, it's like when you wake up on Christmas morning when you're a little kid. And this was back when we used to have snow on the ground before global warming. And you had snow on the ground. Old Saint Nick had his cookies. He left you a little note on the table, and you knew you were about to open up some big presents. This is how this food tastes. Like it was the most. The words can't even describe how happy I was. I think I smiled for 4 hours straight. I was so happy, and then I was so full. But it was just, man, it was positive vibes. So that was the first time I had ever experienced that because I'm kind of, when it comes to cooking, it takes a lot of time and I get sidetracked. I got like a squirrel brain and I get sidetracked on other things. So a 1 hour recipe may take me 4 hours. Don't ask me how it happens. That's just how it goes. But anyway, so this week's message was, and I think it was something that I've been wanting to talk about for a little while. I just always forget to talk about it because I don't write things down. I think I can hold everything in my head, but obviously that never works. But this week is, the topic is what's normal anyway? And I got this from one of my favorite artists. His name's Miguel. If you've never listened to Miguel, to me he almost reminds me of he's like a modern day Prince with some of his music. Some of his music has a heavy Prince influence to it. And he's got a song that's called What's Normal Anyway. And he goes into the song, and let me read I'll read you something here with the lyrics of the song. And he says, this is kind of like the bridge, but it says, don't let them change you. Just be who you are, who you are. And then he follows up with in the chorus, and he says, in a crowd and I feel alone. I look around and I feel alone. I never feel like I belong. I just want to feel like I belong somewhere. And I've listened to that song so many different times. And when you listen to music, for me at least, I listen to music and I'm very in tune with the lyrics. So I'm listening to the lyrics first, and then I'll listen to the beat later. Now, a lot of times, I think artists nowadays sometimes go for the beat first and then the lyrics second. So I appreciate when I hear a song and there's substance to it. Now, in the song, What's Normal Anyway, it is a little bit repetitive, but in the message, it depends. And obviously, whoever listens to the song, it's going to be subjective on what you think or how you feel about the song. But the song connected to me in such a way because I just remember when I was growing up and not feeling like I was confident with the voice that I had. I always felt that I had to suppress some of the things I like, especially, back in the day I used to listen to a lot of rap music. And at home, it was, I turn it up. I'm listening to it loud and whatnot. But I noticed in looking back on how I used to do things is when I would go out in public and when I'm driving my car and I'm listening to my rap music, I'm turning it down. And this is weird. Again, when I get my weird ideas, I'm usually in the shower brushing my teeth. And I was in the shower and I usually do some reflecting in the morning on things while I'm in the shower. And I couldn't understand. I was like, why did I do that? Now that I'm much older, I understand. Is because I didn't want to be judged for the music that I listened to. Because some of it was a little bit raunchy. I remember songs like, if you remember 3 6 Mafia, or I think there was an artist named Kaya. I think it was My Neck, My Back. That was pretty raunchy. But I listened to a lot of Tupac, a lot of Biggie, a lot of Lil Wayne. And then the other side of things was I was very much into R&B music, and that's just what my parents listened to, like Keith Sweat, Guy, The Temptations, who's Mace. I think there was another Blackstreet. Geez, Erica Badu, Jill Scott. So a lot of these soul R&B singers. And as I was reflecting, I was like, why was I turning that down? And it was because I never wanted to be judged for the music that I listened to. I thought maybe if somebody heard me listen to that type of music, they would put a label on me or try to make an assumption about me that wasn't necessarily true. And so I go back to the Miguel song, What's Normal Anyway? Right? So just because of the music we listen to, we may listen to some weird music. I listen to some weird music sometimes. Do I consider that normal? For me, I do. But again, it goes back to what's normal anyway. It's going to be subjective to that person, that individual. There were other things. I mean, now I'm very confident and very comfortable with being opinionated on things that I believe in. Back in the day, when I was younger growing up, I never felt like I could speak up about things because I was a minority, and I felt that when I spoke up, I was a small fish in a big pond when it came to being a minority and not having a lot of diversity when I grew up. And so there was a lot of not knowing who I was and trying to figure out what was normal, what was going to be my end with certain groups and certain people. Obviously, it was a little bit easier for me because I was an athlete. But even in college, I tried to figure out what was normal. I even tried to figure out, what was normal, what did I feel comfortable dressing in. And it took me a very, very long time. And I would say probably around, I think it was, and I've talked about it before, I think it was maybe when I did a little bit of backpacking, and I learned so much during that trip about myself, who I was, and what I believed in. And that changed that whole trip of backpacking and just kind of doing what I wanted to do and not really caring what other people thought really changed my life because I really found what was normal for me. For me, I've got at times of extremely dry sense of humor. I may tell somebody a joke and have a straight face. There's things. I think I used to wear a sweater to the gym, and it said on the front of it, it said, "She thinks my tractor's sexy." It's just, to me, that's normal. It's me kind of showing a little bit of my personality of just being goofy. And so I go back to this song of how it connected with me is I look at kids nowadays and kids middle school, high school, and even younger college kids of how I see how they try to identify or try to figure out what's normal, but in doing so, so many people conform in a way that isn't them. And I was in the same boat before. I conformed to something that wasn't me. I would shy away from things that I believed in just so I can conform and stay in the middle and not cause any ruckus. Now, if there's something I believe in and it's controversial, I'm going to give people my opinion. I'm going to be as authentic as I can because that's what I feel is normal. So when I see some of the younger kids growing up now of them not knowing who they are as an individual, but how social media has taken over the world in a sense of where a lot of kids and a lot of people are going to social media trying to figure out what's normal, trying to figure out where is their in crowd and trying to find their comfort. And I think that, and maybe in some cases that works for some people, but as we continue to look outward for what's normal, we begin to find that there's always going to be a dead end as we go outward. I think normal always, for most cases, happens within. So what I mean by that is trying to figure out what's normal for you. The more comfortable you can be with yourself, the things that you believe in, and the people that you surround yourself with, then things become normal, things become comfortable. And it's amazing. It's amazing to me, or it's confusing to me to try to understand how I lived in that world for so long, suppressed my own thoughts and what I believed in, and then looking back on it now to how far I've come. But it's also has taken me many years to develop myself. So I think in past videos I talk about books, and I talk about surrounding myself with people that vibe on the same level, and I talk about just really truly being genuine with myself. And I tell you what, when you find those things, life becomes amazing, because then you start attracting the things that are supposed to be in your life. Now, the more and more you go through life trying to conform and trying to fit what other people want you to do, you are going to continually attract things within your own little circle that you don't want. And like I say, all these things I've gone through. So being able to go through, or actually being able to reflect, is one of the biggest keys to finding who you are and finding what is normal. And when we go through that transformation, then we can be who we are. We can show up in certain relationships, and we can give to those that may need our help or may need us. But until we can do that, of diving deep inside within us, I was talking to somebody this morning about this, is if you don't take the time to dive in within yourself and try to learn about yourself, you're going to go through life and reach a point in your life and not really truly know who you are, because there's a couple different things. You may look for other people to fulfill your happiness. You may find other people to try to make you feel comfortable, and you may do things that you don't necessarily want to do just to try to fit in or conform or fit this idea of the social norm, or whatever that even means. So again, this song, if you've never listened to Miguel, again, he's my favorite artist, and the song is called What's Normal Anyway. Got a little cold going on, or some kind of congestion. But the song, like I said, is Miguel, What's Normal Anyway. And so if you go and you just listen to that song, Miguel dealt with different things growing up. He was never able to comfortably identify with who he was, because he was biracial. And so there are so many people that go through that same thing. Now, I'm not biracial, but there were things that I went through growing up that I was trying to identify with, where do I want to be, or where do I need to be, which group do I need to be in, and again, that was just, growing up and not having a lot of diversity, but also not feeling like I had the voice to speak up. Now, my parents, on the other hand, they speak up. So now that I've grown older, there are bits and pieces of my parents that are now coming out, being comfortable with speaking up of what I believe in. And it's very encouraging, and it's very, very comfortable. But it's also something that is, I think I wanted it for a long time, is being able to speak up for what I believe in, but I just never thought I could until, I think, with 2014 is when I started, excuse me, when I went on my backpacking adventure. So with that being said, if anybody has gotten this far in the video, I just really encourage you to take the time to self-reflect and take the time to work on yourself. And it's not easy. There are things that you have to go through. There are things that you have to bring up. But there are difficult questions that you have to answer yourself, and you got to look in the mirror and answer to your own self. Nobody is ever going to make you or complete you. Nobody is ever going to make you feel what you want to feel, but internally, you've got to come to those type of conclusions and those type of things on your own. But until you answer those important questions, and until you take the time to self-reflect and develop within, there, for more times than not, there is always going to be a dead end with any situation within your own life. And then you get to a point, whether you're in a relationship, friends, married, you hit a point in your life and you're like, man, I just don't feel like I truly know who I am as a person, or there are some things that are missing within me. Now, the cool thing about having people around you is they're able to talk to you about these things and kind of point out different things within yourself. So when I talk about making sure that you have a circle that is supportive for you, but is also cheering for you for growth and different accomplishments in your life, is so important. Your direct circle of friends and the significant that you date and you marry will have a direct correlation to how far you get in life and how successful you ultimately become. I'm sure you've seen it before, different relationships. One person is going up and the other person's going down. And that person going up eventually comes down unless, or he or she comes down unless they make significant changes. So anyway, I encourage you to listen to and there's a live version of Miguel playing this song. And there's one that I think he's in Detroit. And he's in a living room and he's doing a live performance. And then there's two other ones that, let me see. I think it's in concert somewhere. Just type in Miguel, What's Normal Anyway, on YouTube. You'll find it and you'll be able to hear his message. So with that being said, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, KOATSC, and follow me on YouTube. Until next time, we'll chat soon.